Look, we just had Under the Silver Lake a few weeks ago, so when it comes to the whole auteur-level breakout director does a sophomore effort movie thing, it's essentially a spectrum between Southland Tales and Unbreakable for me. And thank God this landed on the Unbreakable end, because I'll be goddamned if I have it in me to sit through Under the Southland Tales. Dude actually did it! Comes off Get Out with some box office records and an Oscar, and then turns up a year later with something maybe not quite as impressive, but pretty damn close. In fact, since this is one of those movies you're better off knowing very, very little about in advance, here you go. So, family go to beach house, get terrorized by their own doppelgangers, 4 stars, it's my favourite movie of the year so far, go see this thing and your life will be richer for it. Okay, if you're sticking around, you know that last bit's hyperbole, but it really is my favourite movie of the year to date. So, yet again, Jordan Peele's delivered what's effectively a big screen Twilight Zone episode. This one's not quite as big on the social thriller elements as Get Out was. If anything, it's staged largely as a next-level suburban horror flick, but its tackling of class and racial elements is a little less at the forefront this time around, by virtue of the narrative being just a smidge amped up in scale, but the scope being full-blown beefed up and supercharged. Same time though, it still feels like that same distinct cinematic vision that brought you the tapping teacup last time around. But given that a lack of knowledge is part of the fun going in, it's kind of good that the marketing has played quite well with that. They don't really seem to have used too much from after the first hour, and even then, Us is a pretty solidly paced flick. It's got real momentum, but mercifully not at the cost of just this brilliantly creepy sense of atmosphere that gets brought about by Mike Goulakis' visuals and Michael Abel's seriously badass score. Which, yes, does include something with that song, if you've seen the trailer. As far as Peele's sense of storytelling goes, Us keeps proceedings rather firmly within the same kind of Ira Levin-esque horror from familiarity wheelhouse, the feel of a cinematically produced Rod Serling riff, a sort of strut around as a more able and certainly more engaging Shyamalan, and, well, it's not quite as streamlined a story as Get Out was on balance, and it'd certainly be a harder sell awards-wise, but I think we all tend to look back on Get Out for some reason as being far less goofy than it actually was. That was a hell of a flick, definitely, but people forget how broad its humor actually was at times. And Us will really hammer that point home for you. Meanwhile, Lupita Nyong'o, yeah, she's a bit amazing. Twice over, in fact. Imagine like Ripley and the alien both being played by Sigourney Weaver, like that kind of thing. You can feel real chemistry between her and Winston Duke, who incidentally is just as much fun doing the 30-something dad bod routine as he is when he's charging Outriders. And, well, I like the younger cast members both very much as well. And, well, Elizabeth Moss gets far too small a role, but that's just because she's Elizabeth Moss, and most of her roles are too small as a result of that first fact. And to be fair, the performances are so in step and in keeping with the rhythm, the tone and the rhythm and the pace of Peele's vision here, that you do get to feel, for instance, like a palpable sense of how the horror movie family actually work as a family on a day-to-day basis outside of, just the couple of days or so we get to spend with them as a horror movie family. It's a good balancing act between the writing, the performances, and the direction, and it went down gangbusters with me. In much the same sense as its predecessor, though, Us suffers maybe from not having the most original idea in the world to, those of you who've seen your share of genre shows, sci-fi horror anthology, stuff like that, but Peele's manner and tone in presenting his take on it comes with enough gristle and flavour to absolutely stand it apart, even if it doesn't really stand alone. Honestly, I could gush on this movie all damn day. It's cabin in the woods level playful, Lars von Trier style twisted at times, funny games-ish Kubrickian horror. I f***ing loved it. People love all sorts of random ass things, those like Mila Kunis, for instance, is really into World of Warcraft, and, well, Johnny Depp collects Barbie dolls, Hugh Dancy likes to document and catalogue airport carpet patterns, Miles Teller is awful, and Ray Fiennes has a weird thing about Russia. Like, he hardcore fanboys himself a Russian set period piece. It ain't even funny, and to be fair, it's not particularly anything to laugh about, because Fiennes could act the shit out of Swan Lake if he wanted to, but he does actually indulge himself a bit of ballet win directing The White Crow that's out this week. It's set in 1961 and follows Russian male ballet star Rudolf Nuriev's time on a tour of Paris with the Mariinsky Ballet Company. This being the height of the Cold War and all, every pair of eyes the KGB could spare was focused very squarely on Nureyev, who was a man with something of a chip on his shoulder and, well, all the talent to match. Not that it would matter who's watching him, as he has this sort of burgeoning friendship with a young woman named Clara, and that begins to stir something in him that'll see him have to try and find a way out of his oppressive homeland. And look, history exists, okay? You either know the story or you don't, in which case, like me, you're gonna learn some stuff. Like Adele Exarchopoulos, just being straight up captivating. Yet again, I seem to forget about her between films, and then every now and again she pops up and I'm knocked for six all over again. I am all about Adele Exarchopoulos up in here. And yet the knockout still is the eponymous role, so Oleg Ivanko goddamn kills it as Nureyev, and physically he kind of looks hilariously like the FetLife version of Sebastian Stan. Just terrific performance from this guy. Not only as regards him really selling Nureyev's inner turmoil and the weight of what's going on with him, but also in the fierce, almost aggressive energy feeds into the movement of it at times too. He actually is a ballet dancer by training, never had a screen credit in his life. Hell, dude actually learned English solely for this movie, and hot damn if he doesn't get that drive across on screen. Ralph Fiennes, now on his third go behind the camera, directs himself up a treat. There's no piece of what's on screen in The White Crow that doesn't feel very specific and measured. And My Cousin Rachel cinematographer Mike Ealy well and truly brings the sort of romantic allure to 60s Paris. But it ain't all home runs, and, well, David Hare's screenplay just feels entirely too padded in the second act, and, well, it gets highlighted quite a bit in contrast to a pretty all-out third act that'll have you perched nicely on the edge of your seat. But to be fair, what works about The White Crow works well enough to just about excuse that flabby midsection, and well, I do definitely register it as having been pretty good when I think back on it. So 3 stars, excellent work from the Feynman, 2/3 of a good job from David Hare. I could see Adele Exarchopoulos in a movie every single day and it wouldn't feel often enough. And, well, Oleg Ivanko's a goddamn rock star. Peep this, absolutely. But do take a pillow for that second act. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review.